Right, you're asking me why I've put the noise reduction on.
Yeah, why?
Because there's 11 chickens, right? And I swear to God, like randomly, it can just suddenly sound like this. And it's like, oh, shut up.
That's them agreeing with you.
It's like,
You
shut up.
said something profound and they've gone, oh my God, he's so bad.
And it's right behind you is the coop. So they climb up, literally climb up. And they're like, and it's like, shut up. You got the whole garden to go to.
You have an audience. You have a live, what your viewers don't know is you have a live studio audience. It's not human. That's okay.
I kid you not. Sometimes they also come in.
Maybe you should have them on as a guest.
And I had one guest who was actually scared of chickens. And she was like, oh my God, chicken's coming in. And I'm like,
what was that show? Oh gosh. No, it's not going to come to me where the priest was afraid of foxes.
really? Priest was fun? I don't know about that. Anyway, you were asking me a few questions before we hit the record button.
Yeah.
What were you saying?
Well,
How's your...
it's every girl's concern, am I puffy? Is it, do I have flyaways?
It's not puffy, it's just bouffon. No.
Buffon's puffy. All right.
Your hair's fine.
It's mum hair. Any mum will understand.
It looks fine.
I did everything but the hair.
I think it looks all right. Is my hair okay?
It looks fantastic.
Have I polished it enough?
Uh-huh.
I like polish.
There's no glare. Did you powder?
No, I didn't actually.
Okay.
No, I didn't. Right, what else were you asking? What were we talking about before?
Oh, we were talking about how you very politely told me to let myself in this morning.
Yeah, I've got more important things to do, like load the washing machine and get the washing on. Come on.
You know how often I get told off about British politeness and stuff.
Yeah. So listen, I'm actually quite pissed off with you.
Oh God, bring it on. What'd I do?
No, I'm really, really annoyed with you because you know what day it was yesterday?
Oh, listen, it wasn't. My kids.
It's not me.
Too.
It's not me. It's you.
It's not me. It's no fun. I go sit by myself now. I'm sitting on the sofa now. I sit on the sofa. What? Yeah, instead of the table.
So I'm still at the table, but I'm at a different table. So I went there and I sat on my own, like Billy No Mates.
Yeah, me too. In the corner.
And I was very upset. And I was sitting there yesterday and I was thinking, I'm going to tell Nicole I'm pissed off of her because it's just not right. So
can you juggle my childcare schedule for me then? And we can fix this problem. And we can all go back to gymnastics together and be a big happy family.
Yeah. So just in case people aren't understanding what's going on. So basically you and I would take our kids to gymnastics.
Yeah.
Every Thursday.
Every Thursday. Best Thursdays.
Best Thursdays.
Best Thursdays.
How long has that been going on?
A year.
A year,
Yeah.
Right? So for a year, we would meet up every Thursday and we would talk. What would we talk about?
We would save the world. We would save the world every Thursday. We would though. And did you notice how it eventually became just us? Nobody wanted to sit next to the people having these deep conversations.
Not even our kids. I'm sick.
No, they were just wrestling on the floor.
Right? My daughter's taking down your son.
She owned him.
Oh God, it's crazy. It was like, I mean, there was one time it was like, poof, bang.
I know.
I'm like, oh my God. And your son just got up and went, yay.
He loves it. Yeah. That's how him and Aura play. I definitely don't worry about her.
You know, it's really funny. I've mentioned Teddy some like 5 times over the summer holidays.
Really?
Yeah, I'll tell you why. I'm like, to my middle one, I'm like, that's Teddy's laugh. And she goes, she's actually got his laugh now.
Oh God, I'm so glad they're in class together.
I am too. But anyway, it's really funny. So when we were going to gymnastics, you would sit there, I would sit there. And you know what? Everyone else is just stuck on their phones. Everyone else is like a zombie. And I'm like, what's wrong with people? And like, because my daughter likes to play with your son, and I know your daughter as well. She's so cute. The look. Oh my God, the look. That look. Whoa.
I know.
Yep, right. And I was like, yeah, let's chat to Nicole. And it's like, you know what? I'm gonna teach her a few things about the world. I'm gonna wake her up. Little did I know Little did I know she was going to give me an instruction on how to wake up. Jeez, you've been awake a lot longer than I have.
You know what happened? Ever since I met you, I've been thinking about what kind of led us to our conversations. And there's two things. There's two very poignant moments that I remember in my life. The first one, I remember being really young. And my mom has a green thumb. She can grow anything. We had a garden from when we were little. We had a compost before it was cool. We recycled when only weirdos recycled. I'm serious. And I remember one day I got a cut in the garden, and I went to get what I thought, I must have been 7 or 8, what I thought was our first aid kit. And my mom just walked me around to the back of the house, and she got out her aloe plant, and she rubbed a little bit of the aloe on it.
Oh, wow.
And the next day, right, the cut was almost healed. And I remember thinking, that was from a plant. Like I didn't need what was in there. And later that night, I'm laying in the top of my bunk. This is genuinely how young I was. I was on the top bunk still. And I'm looking out, and we have a fish tank, and I'm kind of gazing at the fish tank, and I'm gazing at, we have a globe. I was that nerd. I used to ask my mom every year for a new globe because I knew the lines changed, right? And I'm just like looking at everything, and I'm thinking, if that could have fixed that situation, the world is so big, there must be a solution for everything. Right.
Nice.
And there must be a plant. There must be something growing everywhere. Like, humans have been around for how long? We must have been figuring out how to heal ourselves. And that kind of stuck with me. And then fast forward, I don't know, 20 years. And I used to test water in Port St. Lucie County in Florida. And that was when I got to discover how bad things were. And this was 20 years ago. And what was really in the water. And those two experiences kind of showed me, okay, if you want to know what's out there, you're going to have to learn yourself. Like, the foundation of all of that isn't going to be formally taught. It's not going to just be handed to you as a part of our current, social structure.
Yeah.
And so I've just been interested ever since.
20 years. Wow, you're definitely ahead of me. This is what I mean. Every conversation I would go away, and you'd be like, do you know this person? I'd be like, no. Have you read this book? I'd be like, no. Do you know anything about this? I'm like, oh shit, no. I'm like, oh my God, she's well ahead of me. So yeah, so well done.
Aww.
So listen, okay, let's start with the water then. When you say they don't know what's in the water, well, what is in the water? Isn't it just water?
It depends on where you live. What is consistent and what we know now is that there is something called PFAS or PFAS or PFOS. Those are microplastics. It's things we can't get out of the water, and scientists have now discovered it's crossed the blood-brain barrier. It's in our blood. Yeah.
Bits of plastic.
Yeah.
Oh shit! What do they look like?
Microscopic bits of multicolored plastic.
Really?
Yeah. When you look at how we live and how much we consume and how much we use plastic to consume for safety purposes, right? That's why plastic became so popular. It didn't break like glass. It traveled much better. It was easier to manipulate, to intentionally make things safer. And unfortunately, it's now broken down to such a microscopic level that we're consuming it. And it's basically one of the best descriptions I think I've ever heard is we have Scotch guarded our blood.
Oh shit! So I've just found it.
Yeah.
Again, see, you've just educated me within like literally 5 minutes. Per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, PFAS or PFASes, are a group of synthetic organofluorine. Fluoride's not good. Chemical compounds that have multiple fluorine atoms attached to an alkyl chain. There are 7 million such chemicals, according to PubChem. PFAS came into use after the invention of Teflon in 1938.
Yeah, have you seen Dark Waters yet?
No.
Fantastic film. True story. Still going on. Luckily, you'll get halfway through the movie and think the world's going to come to an end, but then you discover in this instance that the rule of law actually abided and the lawsuit was seen through.
What channel is it on?
Netflix.
Wow.
Mark Ruffalo. Mainstream film.
All right, let's look it up. They're now using products including waterproof fabric, nylon, yoga pants, carpets, shampoo, feminine hygiene products, mobile phone screens, wall paint, furniture, adhesives, food packaging, heat-resistant non-stick cooking surfaces, firefighting foam, and the installation of electrical wire. Shit. And also cosmetic industry. Lip balm.
Yeah.
concealer, mascara, eyeliner, nail polish.
It's what makes mascara waterproof. So you wear waterproof mascara.
And this stuff is not good for you.
No.
So they said initially it was chemically inert. But hold on 1 second. So it causes thyroid disease, increased cholesterol levels, but who cares about that? Breast cancer, liver damage, kidney cancer, inflammatory bowel disease, testicular cancer, increased time to pregnancy, low sperm count, miscarriages, early onset puberty, obesity. Shit. It's bad. All right, okay, so, oh shit. And so there's PFAS in the water.
Yeah.
You can't get rid of it?
Luckily, again, this is where, there's some incredible human beings around the world who care, who are widely credible, who are wonderfully intelligent, who are looking to solve this problem. So there is actually treatments that are being designed right now that are successfully and ethically removing PFAS from the water. But, it's early days.
So it's not like, so most water treatments don't have anything for it?
Correct.
Oh, shit.
If you're not filtering or distilling your water, start now. I don't say that to try and inflict fear. I say that to inspire action, because there's something you can do to look out for yourself and your family right now. Because the problem is so widespread and so massive that genuinely it's an overwhelm to our governments. There are people at a government level trying to find solutions for this. But because we're in the early days of searching that out, the science isn't quite scaled just yet. It's not ready to solve the problem globally.
So what else is in the water other than PFAS?
Chromium-6.
What the hell is that? I mean, it's a metal, heavy metal.
Have you ever seen Erin Brockovich?
I've heard of her, yeah.
Did you see the film?
No.
Okay, so the story, the chemical that was in the water that was causing cancers and all the other health issues that was discovered was chromium-6. And it's in all of our water. There's actually a chromium-6 map you can go look up. It has not been registered with the EPA, so it doesn't have a chemical identification number, so it's not being tracked at the minute.
So hold on a second. Oh, wow. Yeah, American Interactive map thing.
Yeah.
But tell me something.
Yeah.
Where does chromium-6 come from?
It can come from a multitude of sources. It's mostly, manufacturing and a byproduct. So it's not being contained and then treated. A similar exposure system to PFAS, from what I understand.
So it's all over, like, the States.
Yeah.
Like, especially California, shit. And the East Coast.
Yeah.
The central states where the populations are a little bit less, it's not so bad.
Yeah.
Oh, man, it just gets worse and worse. So you've got chromium-6. What does that do to the body? Do you know?
It's a bit scarier than PFAS. The list, anyway.
Adverse effects include occupational asthma, eye irritation, damage, perforated eardrums, respiratory irritation, kidney damage, liver damage, pulmonary congestion and edema, upper abdominal pain, nose irritation, respiratory cancer, skin irritation, and it goes on and on and on. Oh, wow. Oh, shit. No.
It's bad.
Okay. Wow. It has been identified as a carcinogenic substance as well.
Yeah. Chlorine's a carcinogenic substance. So there's quite a few, but they range on the spectrum. So it's important to understand, which one's more harmful than the other.
So industrial uses of chromium products include dyes, paints, inks, and plastics. It's an anti-corrosive agents in paints and primers. So this is a problem. God. And it's one of the most widely used heavy metals in various sectors and industries, from metallurgy, chemicals, and textiles. No wonder then. And then obviously all these plants are, discharging their waste, and oftentimes it just goes into the water.
Yeah.
I remember reading about some American bills like clear skies, clean water or something like that. And it was proper Orwellian. Like the clear skies were saying we can pump more into the air. And it was just like, it was just so industry friendly, but it was like a lovely sounding name.
Yeah.
But the reality was we're going to poison the air more and we're going to poison the water more.
Yeah. The challenge is that I think a lot of people don't understand. And this is in Western societies, not all. Some of them, Germany's done a fantastic job. There's a few other countries that have worked really hard to solve their wastewater problem. But the challenge is because people are going, okay, well, it's being pumped into the water. We have treatment plants. Can't it be treated? And unfortunately, 90% of the treatment plants in the US and the UK are at threshold. They can't process anymore. So there's quite literally, I don't know, am I allowed to cuss?
Yeah.
There's too much shit. We make too much shit.
That's not cussing.
Well,
That's
close enough, right?
Well, on the cussing scale.
I guess cussing scale when you become a parent is a little bit different than when you're pre-parent, right?
Yeah. On the cussing scale, that's like 0.5.
You're giving me a weak rating.
Yeah,
Cussing.
like
I'll amp it up later. I promise.
And the cussing scale goes to 10. You're like at 0.5. Right. So basically, I mean, like, poo's like a 0.4. It's not that far off.
I mean, poo's funnier. I should have just said poo.
Yeah, I read that basically in the UK, for example, so many water treatment plants have discharged just directly into the sea and river because they can't cope anymore.
They can't cope. I think what frustrates me about that situation is we're a little bit further down the line in science and research and solutions. In fact, there is an incredible company, UK-born technology called ABS here in the UK that has figured out, this is so cool. I mean, it's not probably for people who are uncomfortable with this conversation, but I find it cool. They have figured out how to breed naturally existing microbes which feed on feces. There we go. Where's that on the cussing scale? Like 0.000079?
Yeah, that's...
Okay, cool. I'll take that rating.
That's crap. I just went to 2 out of 10.
Did. And so these microbes exist naturally. It's just there's not enough of them. There's too much of us and not enough of them. So they have figured out how to isolate and breed these and put them into the water system so that when the water gets to the wastewater treatment plant, it can actually do its job because it's not overwhelmed by the combination of chemicals, byproduct treatment, and poo in the system, which what ultimately becomes sludge. So if we can, take some initiative instead of waiting a decade, for decisions to be made to roll this out, then we release the pressure on wastewater treatment plants.
Why don't they just make more wastewater treatment plants? Like, it's privatized.
Yeah.
They're making all the money. They still have profits every year.
Yeah.
It's big business, isn't it?
Yeah.
But they don't seem to reinvest. Like they
don't reinvest.
All the infrastructure that we see in the UK is Victorian era.
Yeah.
Like they built things. And you know what? They were proper private enterprises. They weren't sponsored, funded by the government. It's just, these were private things. Most people don't realize that all the Victorian infrastructure was done purely privately. Like when it's proper private, I think it's actually quite good. What we have in the UK is like subsidized by the government. It's a really weird monopoly system.
Yeah.
This crony capitalism.
It's not set up. It is not designed for innovation. And it's not designed to encourage treatment plants to be able to make decisions that allow them to implement new processes. Right now, I have to say, about a week and a half ago, I met a woman who is writing policy to try and encourage and allow them to spend funds to bring in innovation. So again, it's a dire situation. Yes, we should be concerned, but it's heartening to know that there are people within it that have identified, okay, there is a route to a solution here. What can I do about it?
I read somewhere about like in America, like there's no natural free flowing rivers anymore that are clean and pure. They're all like the river systems in the States are just completely messed up.
It's a disaster. Yeah. In that respect, what I would say is, and this could have changed, but the Gila River in New Mexico, when I was there, was the last free flowing river left in the States. So hopefully they haven't dammed it up. It's so seasonal that I don't think that they would, but yeah.
And there's a lot of rivers in America.
Yeah.
There's another one. Is it Rio Grande or something like that?
Yeah.
The one that goes all the way down to Mexico?
Omaha, I think is the one that you're maybe thinking of.
Well, there's one that I saw. I went down to the Big Bend in Texas and saw the Mexican border on the other side. And it's meant to be this big river, but it was just a trickle. And I said to the guy, like, what's that? And he went, oh, well, the water's all been siphoned off for agriculture and this and that, dammed up. And that's what's left of it.
Yeah.
It was such a shame.
I mean, it's happening. It's not just in the States. It's happening everywhere. Either that or it's genuinely used for, wastewater. That's the solution in a lot of more, developing countries.
All right.
So we're seeing that pollution go out into the sea.
So we've got PFAS, we've got chromium-6. What else have we got in the water?
that's important to talk about?
Yeah.
Well, can we backtrack for a minute? Because I think what's really important, I love people who self-educate, and I like people who go and actually, do their own legitimate investigation and try and understand their current situation and how it affects them. One of the things that everyone can do is they can either Google or request their own water quality report. Every water treatment council or region or facility is legally required in the States and the US to provide a water quality report. So, for example, when I moved here to where we live now, that was I do it every time I move. I took a look at our water quality report, and it's honestly, at that time, was one of the best ones I'd seen just yet.
Really?
Yeah, it's for our area. We have a very progressive water treatment group. Now, with that said, there's things that they cannot process, right? And there's things that they have to do in order to kill, bacteria and other things within the water system to make it safe for us. So, first of all, Google your water quality report, have a read through. If you don't understand something, get on YouTube. There's plenty of people willing to talk you through it and explain what's in there. And you'll then be able to make a more educated decision. The water quality reports in the UK and the US are quite similar in how they provide them. What I think is something that's important to know, and again, I don't want people to run around and pull their hair out, but as of right now, at least in the States, the water quality reports, they are allowed to set their own standards. So they are not legally required to abide by the EPA's standards of what's safe exposure. So in a lot of regions, you'll see excessive use of chlorine, which sometimes can be called a chlorine burn. And that is for a very specific reason. It's because there's stuff in the water that we shouldn't be exposed to and could kill us, right? So we need to make sure that it is eliminated. In some areas, depending upon where corporations, organizations, whatever is happening with wastewater, export, you will find things like lead, excessive amounts of lead, excessive amounts of chloroform. Sorry, not chloroform. Another chemical. It'll come back to me. But
pesticides, phosphates,
absolutely.
and all these kind of things. Insecticides. I even heard that one of the things that
cyanide.
Cyanide. Oh wow! I've even heard that people take pills and drugs and diuretics and contraceptive pills and all that kind of stuff. They pee it out, and in the pee, then you've basically you've got measurable amounts of drugs, pharmaceutical drugs,
going back in the system. That's true.
Wow.
Yeah. It's because the treatment process isn't set up to handle it at this point in time. I think one of the things I wasn't initially so concerned with over the last 20 years that I'm much more aware of and conscious of now is actually the chlorine. Because as there's more people, as there's more contamination, there's had to be more chlorine because little bitty things in our water become resistant, right? They evolve just like how we evolve, and they have evolved a method of resistance to chlorine. So we've had to increase the chlorine levels, and chlorine is a carcinogen, right?
Yeah.
It's chlorine gas will kill you. So in small amounts, right? It's not going to do damage. But the interesting thing about chlorine is if you're constantly inhaling it, AKA in the shower, it can cause damaging effects. A lot of that's going to come down to your own personal DNA and how healthy you are and other things that you're exposed to. But it's something that is it's easy to prevent, right? Get a new shower head. Order it on Amazon. Pretty cheap. Get a chlorine filter. If you can install something on your water main. Something then you don't have to worry about and another company will come take care of. But if you want that peace of mind, that there are easy solutions out there for it.
I didn't know you could get like a massive filter at the water main. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, we started distilling, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
I feel much better for it.
Yeah.
And to me, it just makes sense. I mean, you said it's a small amount of poison. I think the problem is we are now surrounded by so much small amounts of poison.
Exactly.
The food has got a small amount of poison. The water's got a small amount of poison. We're exposed to air has got a small amount of poison. The EMFs, the radiation, everything's a small amount of poison. And because it's a small amount, everybody's like, oh, it's fine. It doesn't matter. But you know what? That's how some people killed people with small doses of arsenic or
Mhm.
lead so that they didn't know they were being poisoned.
Yeah.
And over time they did and ended up killing them or significantly, hampering their quality of life and their health. And I just feel like most of us are slowly being poisoned. And our bodies are natural detox
They are.
machines.
Yes.
But just like the water sewage plants, if you overwhelm them and flood them with these small amounts of poison, they're not going to do their job anymore and they're going to break down and then you're going to have problems.
Yeah. They won't be able to process. And, there's a lot of things and that relate to that. And forgive me for taking this opportunity to kind of talk about it. But because of the research that's come out of Australia in the last, I think, year and a half, 2 years, exercise is our body's natural opportunity to kickstart our lymphatic system and to promote drainage, filtration. It changes the gray matter in our brain. It physically changes the gray matter in our brain.
In what way?
It improves function. So that's why after you exercise, you're clear and you're awake. It's why you sleep better.
I do.
Yeah. It actually promotes positive thought. They have discovered down in Australia, and I'm sure it'll be replicated in further research to come, that exercise alone is something like 7 times better, God, forgive me, don't quote me on this. It is significantly better than any antidepressant drug on the market in a quicker time frame.
I said this in a tweet and a video last year.
Yeah.
I said, if you want the best form of a best medicine, that, imagine a medicine that makes you happy, that is going to make you more healthy, resistant to cancer and diabetes.
Yep.
Great for your mental well-being, helps with your sleep.
Yep.
And it's free.
It's free.
Without risk and side effects.
Yes.
If I could put that in a pill, it'd be a blockbuster.
I know.
Guess what? It's just exercise.
Yeah.
Go and exercise. But you know what? It's hard, isn't it?
It's okay. All right. So I've been in that industry for a very long time, right? So I hear, and I probably...
The exercise industry.
Yeah. I've been in the fitness industry for over 20 years.
Yeah, I know that, but I'm trying to get you to sit in the...
I've been in the fitness industry for 20 years. I love it. I passionately love it, right? I'm completely biased. I myself have found myself in a situation where it was very easy to be like, I can't exercise today. And the fact of the matter is, our brain, I found this so fascinating, is wired to do that because it perceives anything maybe that we don't want to do or anything that we deem as challenging. I don't have time. It's going to hurt. Our brain triggers that response from the same physical area as where our pain receptors are. So we perceive anything that we don't want to do. This is where procrastination comes in, right? Anything we don't want to do originates from the same spot in our brain as if pain was being inflicted on us. So the minute I read that, I was like, I love this because I like to understand why about things. And I feel like when I can understand why, I can break it down and make a change or do something different or understand it in a different way. And immediately I went back to my, exercise regimes that I knew worked for me. I started playing with new ones that I wanted to influence and creating new things, fun things for myself to do. I genuinely took my son's skateboard and started doing these plank crunches with the skateboard because I saw it on Instagram and I was like, that's a fantastic idea, right? But the minute I could separate and understand where it was coming from, it made it easier to do. And I think that if the majority of people could understand that, that's where it's not your fault. You're not lazy. You're wired that way. So take control of the wiring. It's your brain. Nobody else is responsible for it. And even if you're in pain, there's something you can do. Pilates was designed for people with severe injuries in hospital beds to be able to exercise. There is something out there you can do. You can't exercise, go for a walk. You'll feel better. I promise. It's available to us every single day. And I just, I'd love to see more than, an average of 12 to 30% of the population being able to take advantage of it.
100%. I love all that. Have you seen my gym outside?
I love your gym outside.
Isn't it amazing?
I, when you weren't looking, used a few bits of your gym outside.
I've literally just got like kettlebells, medicine ball, like funny little sledgehammer type thing.
Yep.
I don't even know the name of it.
Yep.
What is that thing?
The sledgehammer?
You know the big long stick with the ball at the end?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can call it a sledgehammer. Call it lots of different things.
I don't know what it is, but I've just been playing around with it. Functional movements and just moving around a bit. Have you heard of type 1, type 2 fun and type 3 fun?
Fun? I've heard of type 1, type 2, and type 3 diabetes, but I haven't. Oh, fun. I'll take any fun you got.
So basically, over the weekend, Kat and I discovered this thing called type 1 fun, type 2 fun, type 3 fun. So type 1 fun is like, scrolling on your phone and just looking at videos and reels, sitting down and just watching Netflix. Just passive, consuming, no effort.
No engagement.
There's no like resistance to it. It's like, oh yeah, let's just do it. And you just, boom.
You would also probably get a very stagnant brain activity out of it. There'll be no peaks and valleys.
Boom. And it also drains your dopamine. It stops 100%. The neural connections. Yeah. And actually afterwards, it creates this kind of weird refractory period. So it's harder to have fun.
100% it would do that because it's small doses constantly. So you basically go into
blunting mode.
Yeah.
You get blunted.
Yeah.
So you need more of it to be activated and triggered and have fun, right? Just
like addiction. I mean, dopamine is what is released in the brain when people do a drug or smoke a cigarette or drink something. So it's the same chemical release, isn't it?
Mm.
Yeah. So you're going through withdrawal, essentially.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Type 2 fun is where it's hard. It's difficult. It's an effort involved. It might even be unpleasurable at the time. Not saying always, like you might still be enjoying it while you're doing it, but sometimes it might actually even be like, you're like, oh, I don't know if I'm really enjoying this right now. But that type 2 fun is creating neural connections, is not draining your dopamine, and is not creating a refractory period. Contrary, afterwards, it will lower the threshold to have fun. So you will have fun with much easier. It will be much easier to have fun. Just simple things in life will be fun for you. And you'll look back and go, oh God, I'm so glad I did that.
Yeah.
So like you will never think that with type 1 fun. You'll never go, oh God, when I was scrolling for my Instagram, oh my God, it's so much fun.
So rewarding.
God, I love that.
I feel such a better person.
Yeah. I can't wait to do that again. Like you never do that.
Right.
You never go, oh my God, it was so amazing watching Netflix last night. Like no one does that.
I hope you do that again because I feel like I want to put a blonde wig on you. The West Coast American accent was really on point right there. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, I wasn't trying that hard. But anyway, maybe that's slightly worrying. So basically, that's type 2 fun. And so that would fit into physical exercise, gymnastics for the kids, jiu-jitsu, horse riding, running, physically doing stuff. And then I think you can get things in the middle. For example, I think reading a book would be like a 1.5. It takes effort. It takes effort. It's not just you're having to read, concentrate. And it's amazing how many people really struggle to read a book because they don't have the attention span. It's kind of shocking.
Yeah, well, I mean, our brains have been rewired as a result of social media and cell phones.
Yeah.
Ding.
Ding. And then type 3 fun is where it wasn't pleasurable at the time and it wasn't pleasurable when you look back.
How is that fun?
Like, exactly. So I was thinking about this, and I was saying to Kat, I don't think enough people have type 2 fun. And actually, we went to this, we went to Cornwall over the weekend, just for a weekend. It's crazy. We were doing a jiu-jitsu thing. And one of the things with the jiu-jitsu club thing was we went to this
I'm really jealous I didn't get an invite.
It was fucking awesome.
I had a feeling you were going to say this.
We went to this Nordic spa, and basically it was sauna.
Tell me there was ice baths.
Yes. And graded ice baths from like temperature.
Yeah.
And I just went straight to the coldest one.
Good.
And these massive hot tubs, which were hot. So sauna, cold plunge, hot tub, sauna, cold plunge. It was like for an hour. And, we went with our club members. And, a lot of people were like, oh, I'm not going in that cold plunge. And my cat was like, I'm not going in that cold plunge. Everybody came out.
Type 2 fun.
And you know what Kat came at? I swear to God, speak to her. Oh, by the way, she said she misses you.
I miss her too.
She does.
I miss her too. Every time we see each other in the playground in the school, we always stop and give each other a big hug.
Tell Nicole I miss her. And then she goes brackets, and I miss you too, obviously.
I like that you're second in that lineup.
But anyway, she came out, I swear to God, stoned.
Yeah.
Stoned. And I was like, are you okay? She goes, I'm just so chilled out.
Okay, this is really cool because we've just been talking about short burst dopamine, right? They have discovered that the result of that, the after effect of cold therapy in that respect, produces the longest long wave dopamine when you come out. I've never done cocaine. Okay. But supposedly cocaine has the second longest curve.
Really?
Supposedly, yes. Whereas the ice therapy is longer than anything else we've got on record. I started ice bathing year and a half, almost 2 years ago.
Same.
Changed my world.
Same.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of cheating because it's just a cold bath. It's not really ice. But
in the winter here, it is basically, it's 2 degrees coming out of the pipe.
This is what I was going to say. I've got my low thermometer, and like, so right now it's about 11.
Yeah.
12.
Yeah.
And that's fine. That's okay. And by the time it gets to about January, I've had it down to 2.5.
Yeah.
I've measured it, and it's like, oh, whoa, whoa. But the good thing about doing the cold bath throughout the year is I kind of just get acclimatized, like, and so it doesn't.
Which, if you
it just does it gradually.
would have been what we would have naturally been exposed to, 200 years ago.
Yeah.
We would have had to just roll with it, wouldn't we? Whatever the water was in the river, or whatever we were able to pull into our little bathtub. Not all of us were kings and queens.
Yeah, exactly. So, do you actually have? Do you do it in your bath, or do you? Do you add so I add Epsom salts, and maybe once a week I add bicarbonate of soda as well.
Okay.
Do you do anything like that?
I haven't stuck with it consistently, because for me, I think this is where it comes in if you ever want to get into the conversation of habit stacking, which I have tried to become a master of recently.
Habit stacking.
Habit stacking.
I don't even know what habit stacking means.
All right. So habit stacking is when you want to start a new habit, but it's just like, where am I going to do it? Like, creating a habit for human beings takes on average 21 to 28 days. Right? We have to do something consistently, and then it becomes an embedded behavior by about 64 days. So 64 days, we do it on autopilot. We don't have to think about it. Right? So I really wanted to add that in. And our mornings with the kids could be chaotic, right? Especially if you have a bad night's sleep and then you wake up, and how do you do all these things? And for me, those kinds of moments are before my kids get up. Like, I try to exercise, not always successful, but I try to exercise before they get up. I try to ice bath before they get up. I try to meditate before they get up, because it's just a clear space. Like, that is my mental well-being period, where I can then, be the best version of myself for the rest of the day.
Be the top mom.
That's right. Yeah. Do I always succeed? No, you just keep going, right? And the way to keep going is to create a habit. And so I was just like, where am I going to fit this in? Right. So if I do it, I was walking the dog every day. Back then I was like, okay, walk the dog. I'm going to attach the cold bath to the dog. Take the dog home, go straight in the bath. Right. So it's attached to something I'm already doing. I'm already walking the dog. That's already a habit. And I had this brief window of time. Right. So as long as I did that one thing, and I, so I would try and add on Epsom salts and other things. And I still do that when time permits, especially if I have another space in time. But that was my way to get it done every day.
I love it. And I often say habits are easy. It's changing them that's difficult, and you could have a good habit and a bad habit.
Yeah.
And good habits are easy. Like, people go, oh, I can't do that. I'm like, yeah, you can. It's just the transition that's difficult.
Yeah.
Once you've done that, boom.
It's just a pain response.
Response.
It's just coming from that same section in your brain.
But I think incremental change is also good. Like, if you just do things slowly, like if you're eating all day long, maybe just skip breakfast. If you're not exercising and you're not going to the gym, just do 10 minutes of press ups and sit ups. Like, quite often the idea of like going to the gym and spending 2-3 hours is like, I don't have the time. I need to make the time to do this. And you put it off, you put it off. And actually, if you just say, like, everyone's got 10 minutes.
Yep.
Just 10 minutes. Just do something for 10 minutes is better than nothing.
Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good.
Exactly.
And any exercise is good. Anything we do. 10 minutes is going to completely change your brain function.
Well, as soon as you leave, I'm going to go and exercise.
Yay.
So on that note, guess what?
What?
Big news. My ankle's feeling better.
Oh, yay.
It's almost been 5 months.
Oh.
I wouldn't say it's 100%. I'd say it's about 80%. I'm not wearing the brace anymore. I don't feel pain anymore.
Okay.
I've done like 3K runs with just the ankle brace on. I'm rolling again with jiu-jitsu again with the ankle brace on, and it's feeling good. Now and again, like if I've not got the ankle brace on and I just move my ankle or pull it, I get reminded, ooh, that's not 100% right. But it's definitely on the mend. So I'm happy.
Good. I squatted with weight for the first time the other day. I did a proper, Olympic bar.
Nice.
For those who don't know, I have 2 torn ACL.
2.
2.
Bilateral.
Well, I didn't tear the second one, so I had already had one torn, didn't know. This is a good story. I should tell the story.
Tell your story.
Okay, so I ride horses. I went to get on my horse. My foot, mind you, I've been in the fitness industry forever. I know better than this. This is a perfect example of just, how people can do ridiculous things. I go to get on my horse. My foot is on unstable ground, right? And I'm like, I'm going to give it a proper jump because I didn't have a mounting block and I didn't want to put too much pressure on his back. So I lock out my knee to get my leg ready for this explosive jump. And the minute that I lock it out, it goes and just collapsed inwards, right? And I dropped down to the ground. I'm in the round pen, and all people could see is this horse walking around with no rider on it. So my trainer comes running over, and he's like, "What? Did he buck you off?" I was like, "No."
Oh, no.
I'm on the ground, and luckily the other woman who was there at that point in time.
You're laughing, but it must have been painful.
Oh, it was horrendous. It was so awful. She was a doctor, so she comes down, and I'm wearing riding breeches, which are quite, they're like joggers, or not joggers, like leggings, right? So you can tell immediately it starts swelling up. She's like, you have torn something. You need to go home. And so the long and the short of it is I found this incredible osteopath who I now just adore. And I go in and I'm going through evaluation with him, and he takes a look at the scan and we get into everything. He's like, okay, here's the deal. Because he was like, do you want to do surgery? And I was like, I do not have time to do surgery. Yeah. I genuinely could not. I couldn't figure out how I was going to get around in a cast or a leg brace for 3 months. I think you're in that. I was like, I actually can't.
Brace.
Brace. Thank you. Yeah.
Actually, it's not as bad as you think. I mean, you're up weight bearing and walking within a week. Easily.
It was just difficult to see. Like,
it is. I know.
And so I said, I just wanted to understand all sides of it, right? If I didn't have surgery, if I did have surgery, what was I looking at? And he was like, let's determine that. And he goes, basically, if you have a big knob,
okay,
you'll be fine. So let's figure that out. He's talking about how my knee connects, right? And whether or not there's a lot of movement within my knee or a little bit of movement because of the knob.
I think he must be talking about intercondylar, like ridge.
Yes.
Okay.
But for layman's, right? Knob is funnier.
Sure.
And so he was like, let's assess your other knee. And so he starts assessing my other knee, and you'll know this movement, I'm sure.
Anterior drawer test.
Yeah.
Shift.
And he moves it and he does something, and we were both kind of like, and I looked at him, he's like, pretty sure that he's like, did you tear your other ACL? And I was like, no. Well, yeah, maybe a decade ago rolling jujitsu. Oh, but I thought it was, I didn't think it was as bad of a tear. I recovered pretty quickly. And he's like, yeah, you don't look at this. Your knee shouldn't do this. He's moving it around. I'm pretty sure that you've torn your other ACL as well. And he said, but the good news is if you've been doing all this sport and kickboxing and riding and running and all these things you've done on the left knee, then, I can't see why your right knee won't recover the same.
It's true. A third of people can get by. And yeah, I'm so glad you're making recovery. I'm glad you found a good osteopath, and I'm glad it's getting better for you. I mean, I'm the same as you. Listen, I went to get a scan because something was not right with my ankle, right? It was taking a lot longer than I thought. And I went backwards at one point.
I remember.
I was really quite miserable.
Yeah.
Because I miss running in the woods.
I was bringing the Theragun to you at the...
I know, remember that? So basically, I was thinking, like, I don't want surgery. Like, one, I don't want to go to the NHS. I'm actually quite petrified of going in the NHS. Mm-hmm. Two, I know most local foot and ankle surgeons, they're nowhere near as good as me. I don't want them touching me.
I love the humility.
No, I mean that. Like, I mean
giving you a hard time. What, you could do your own surgery.
No. And then the thing is, I can't afford private. I can't afford to go see who I think I want. So I was like, oh man, I'm screwed. I just need to get better. So I've been rubbing herbal comfrey thing on it, DMSO, massaging it, doing my exercises. And that's the thing, with an injury, you can still exercise. Like, so I might not have been running, I might not have been sparring in jiu-jitsu, but I was still doing my weights, I was still doing my exercises, my strength training.
Yep.
And I think people need to understand that, like, an injury shouldn't stop you from exercising. It should just change how you exercise and work around it.
Yeah. Use the opportunity to go, what can I do?
Exactly. Just give me 1 second. Your camera's turned off for some reason. I'm not sure why. Give me a sec. So just say it again. So what were you saying?
Okay, so electrical fires, deadliest fires in the world, usually start with an electrical short. A lot of times that could happen as simply as having the screw in the wall mount 1/4 of a turn, right? Loose.
Wow. That's it.
That's it.
Because your camera, I don't know why, it just turned off and it's plugged in and everything, but it made a funny like noise, you know, like the low electricity. So yeah, okay, I'll unplug it and tighten it there. What the heck? Do you know what? I hate when things don't go to plan, when things just suddenly don't work, especially like IT
Why
stuff.
it's an opportunity for us to talk about like electrical fires now.
You know about electrical fires?
By accident, yeah.
What the fuck?
I consulted for a company whose focus was to prevent Grenfell from ever happening again. And one of the ways that they were doing that was through sensor detection within electrical sockets. So before a fire starts, there's gas that's emitted, right, from all the fun electrical wiring that we were talking about before.
Oh yeah.
And when that gas is emitted, they've created sensors that can detect it. And so the sensor would then kick off, kill the electrical supply to it, because that's why electrical fires are so deadly, because electricity is a fuel to fire. So if it's an electrical fire and the electricity is still turned on, it's going to continue to fuel the fire.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh God, I feel really dumb that I don't know
Why?
this stuff. It's
Like,
not
it like they teach this stuff in school.
It's obvious when you say it, but like I just didn't think about it.
But people really don't. Like, why would we, unless you've been in an electrical fire before?
No, I've never been in a fire. Thank God. I don't think I have. No. The only thing I'm thinking about, like, you know, like smoke inhalation.
Yeah.
Something similar happened where I was in Edinburgh visiting family, and my brother-in-law picked a restaurant, and we sat down. I needed to go wee. You know me.
I like that we're talking about poos and wees in this show.
Tiny bladder. So I go downstairs into this kind of like underground area.
Yeah.
Go into the men's bathroom. And I suddenly smell the most toxic chemical thing ever. And there was no windows, no fans. And my eyes started burning and my throat seized up, and I had to then rush out. And I was gasping for breath, and I then had to run out into the street. And everyone came, and like, are you okay? I mean, are you all right? And I'm like having to take deep breaths, and my eyes are stinging. And I said to the restaurant people, what's happened? They'd just been cleaning and putting detergent down there. And I think they might have mixed.
Oh God, that can happen.
They've mixed the wrong stuff.
Yeah. And
they've been like released the gases and the fumes.
Yeah.
And there's nowhere for it to go.
Yeah.
And then I come down and breathe it all in. And I can tell you honestly right now, the panic, like I've never felt anything like, I felt my lungs were on fire.
Yeah.
And my throat was seizing up. And I was like streaming out. And I was like, wow, this is chemical inhalation. Scary, man.
Yeah. I mean,
random freak things happen.
It's another good opportunity to just mention that, of course, those chemicals kill dangerous things, but there are other things available in the world that could do, similar, if not the same. It's like the air tech that you and I have talked about.
The air tech?
The dielectric barrier discharge bipolar ionization.
What the hell is that? Do we have
So bipolar ions exist naturally in the Earth's atmosphere. Okay. They exist around waterfalls. They exist above 6,000 feet. They exist post a thunderstorm. So you know how you walk outside after there's been a storm and there's this like wonderful smell?
Yeah.
That's because the bipolar ions have come in, and what they do is when they come in contact with virus, bacteria, volatile organic compound, they pierce the lipid layer and they break it down immediately.
Bipolar
ions.
Yeah. I like bipolar ionization. Oh. Don't tell me there's a machine that can do this as well.
There is. Well, there's several machines. The reason why I said DBPI in the funny way that I did was because dielectric barrier discharge is the most effective. And a lot of people get it confused with needlepoint. So needlepoint ionization still produces bipolar ions, but it is actually two needles, like it sounds like. So one ion pushes out negative ions, or one needle pushes out negative ions, the other needle pushes out positive ions. They then bind, and you now have bipolar ions floating around in the air, whereas dielectric barrier discharge is a big tube with like 7,500 exit sites. And so it's pushing positive and negative ions into the tube, which then bind in mass quantity there and exit out all of these little exit sites on the tube. And what that means is its efficacy is significantly more, because the needlepoint ionization actually needs hourly cleaning to ensure that the needles don't become clogged.
So what's it called? Bipolar what?
Dielectric, just type in DBD BPI or
DP
B as in boy.
BPI.
Yeah. DBD.
DBD.
Yes. And what's really interesting about this is this then makes the air the defense system. So let's say we're in a building that has bipolar, a high enough compound of bipolar ions floating around in the air, and I walk in and I'm really sick and I start sneezing and coughing everywhere. Immediately the air is then going to bind with the virus that is leaving my body, break it down, and it will...
Atmosphere dielectric barrier discharge, bipolar ionization versus needlepoint bipolar. I have no idea what the hell any of this is.
It's really interesting.
Air
really
ionization is frequently used term, and there are multiple ways to generate. Oh man, can't I just live next to a waterfall?
Oh, that would be preferable.
How amazing would that be? Like
Yeah.
living next to a waterfall.
Yeah, it's really interesting because there's so much that comes into when you look at why human beings are attracted to water. I mean, we are water, so that's part of the reason we're attracted to it. We need it to survive. It's part of the reason we're attracted to it. But it has meant health and vitality. So bipolar ionization was discovered by Einstein, and he had another colleague whose name I'm going to absolutely destroy, so please don't hate me for it. I think his name was Conrad Habschiet. And they designed this piece of equipment that produced bipolar ions 100 years ago. Only back then they couldn't figure out how to produce the ions without producing ozone. And ozone is harmful for human exposure, right?
Yeah.
So fast forward 80 years or so, and this company has figured out how to do it.
Which company?
The one you were reading.
Yeah, but how much is that machine?
It's not that expensive. I've looked into it. I mean, if you were like a massive facility, you're looking at probably $1.50 per square foot. But like for in-home use, completely affordable.
The problem is, like all these things, I don't want lots of gadgets and machines and supplements. I just want nature. I just want...
That's a fair request. You're going to have to uproots and just, go off grid, which is also an option. We could talk about that as well.
Oh my God. What about living near the sea and the spray? Would that create those kind of ions?
I haven't looked into that. It's an interesting question.
So
potentially
thunderstorms. I love the air just after thunder. I love it before. I can smell the charge.
Feel it coming. Yeah.
Then I love a thunderstorm and lightning at night, and I love opening the window and hearing the pitter patter pitter patter pitter.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that thunder. That
I mean, think
rumble.
about that. That's in your DNA.
I love the frequency that it just, and that vibration.
Yeah.
And you're just like, ooh, it's cool.
Yeah. But I mean, again, we used to live out in that. We couldn't avoid it. We were around it. It was a part of us. I mean, according to quantum theory, we're connected to it anyways. So.
Yeah.
Have you read much about that recently?
No.
Oh man, there's some cool research coming out.
I don't know. I just my brain is like exploding. So many things. Look at all these goddamn books I have to read and research and all the stuff that's happening. And it's like, oh God, I just get overwhelmed by it.
It's easy to even feel fractionally depressed about it if you spend too much time in it.
No, tell me then what you've learned about the quantum business.
Well, God, I'm not a quantum physicist in any way.
I know, but that's great.
So what I love about quantum physics and quantum theory is the fact that it supersedes Newtonian law. And Newtonian law is this right now.
Atoms. solid.
Yes, matter.
Matter.
Exactly. And so what's fascinating about quantum theory is, and what the research is now showing, is that what they call the unified field, right? So it's everything you don't see is all actually connected.
The ether?
All of it. We are, in fact, connected to whatever solar system is 100 million light years away that we can't see, that we don't know anything about. Everything is actually connected. So that whole adage is scientifically true.
I think this is what Jesus was talking about.
100%. Absolutely.
I know some people will be like, Jesus? And like Buddha, Jesus. I think this...
all of them. And they were trying to explain the laws of the universe.
I think they were trying to explain to us that we're all connected.
Yes.
And I think the real powers that be didn't like what Jesus was saying. We're like, nah, cut him off.
Well, that's empowering, isn't it? It's empowering information. So if you're trying to...
And that you don't die.
Yeah.
That death isn't...
Yeah, because energy can't die. It literally can't die. It can only transition. When you eat an apple, it becomes you. You use it as fuel.
The question is, when we die, do we become that apple and compost heap, or do we die and become another intelligent life form?
I mean, to me, that sounds like we need to schedule your next interview. There is plenty of people who have come back from the dead who have no problem sitting down saying, this is exactly what I saw and exactly what I felt and exactly what my experience was like. And it aligns with what we've heard a lot of people say, and that, they're in this incredible infinite space of love and peace.
What do you think about reincarnation?
Why not? Like, why not? Why? That makes sense to me. I like logic.
No, but in the sense that what I'm trying to say is, like, if this is just one existence, the soul's journey, my idea is that we're going forward into some other thing, but reincarnation just seems like, Groundhog Day, reset, come back again. And
oh, no way. I feel like, okay, so for me, goodness, I hope I don't get, dragged ridiculously for this, but I genuinely believe if you want to give a functional reason for our existence, right? If you are looking for a reason and you need that, I believe that it is for us to learn how to manage and understand energy. And for the most part, I think it's our own. Like the challenge in this life is to constantly deal with whatever negativity, if you want to perceive it as negativity, because sometimes, like, as the Egyptians say, the most beautiful things come from the darkest places. But I think, if you want to look at the things that happen and then either be affected by it or not allow it to affect you. I think that's the challenge in this life, is for us to be able to learn on our own to take something that might normally be a negative in our world and use that to convert it into a different energy. I just bashed the microphone. Sorry about that.
It's all right. I'll bash it too. Boom, boom, boom.
Microphone. So, and that is really hard. It's really hard to sit down and say, this external thing that's just happened to me, can I use you as an example? Because you're a fantastic example of this.
Of what? The
whole way and method in which you ended up here. Why I'm having this conversation with you.
Yeah, go say whatever, yeah.
So, this incredible, you're doing this thing that you love and this that you are deeply passionate about and very good at, self-proclaimed. Just kidding. But that you obviously have a deep-seated passion for, not just in your commitment to what you're doing, but in your commitment to your patients, right? And their life and their that energy you're transferring to them. You love this. And then this event happens that you couldn't have seen coming, that you didn't expect, that so many would look at as unfair, right? And yet, if it didn't happen, we wouldn't be sitting here today. And you wouldn't be speaking to all of these incredible people that you're speaking to. And you wouldn't be having all of these conversations. So you took this horrible thing, which you could have just turned around and stayed angry about and woe, poor me, and done the victim thing that so many people do. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. Sometimes it's really difficult to get past the psyche and the things that happen.
It's difficult.
It so is. But look at what you did with it. You flipped that energy and you turned it into something beautiful and something positive, right? And I think that is the whole point that we're here. Because this world, this existence is not peaceful. There is peace in it, right? But it's not peaceful. It is a world of opposites, right? That is this planet that we're on. And so if we can take something horrendous that happens and turn it into something beautiful. I think that's the lesson. And I think you can keep coming back here if you want to try and learn that lesson, because it's a heavy one.
Oh, it's a choice. You're like, you get asked, do you want to check out now, or do you want to go back in for game number 2?
Yeah.
Reboot.
You don't feel like you learned it enough. You didn't, because it's all energy. Everything is energy. Everything vibrates, right?
Everything does vibrate.
Everything that there is no stillness.
Do you know what? I just want to take a moment to say to the listeners, can you see now why I was enjoying gymnastics so much? We would have this conversation for 2 hours every fracking Thursday. And now you're gone, you piece of shit.
Listen, I just had a conversation.
Just move it back. Okay, come back to Thursday.
I had a conversation with Nick about us shifting a bunch of the other activities and childcare the other day. So we'll see. Yeah.
Or you can just come back to the podcast again and again as my regular guest.
I mean, we're not getting interrupted here, to be fair.
Yeah, right. Daddy, can you take me to the toilet?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but yeah, I do miss Thursdays now.
Oh, I do too, because it was such a nice, in your day when you're an entrepreneur and a parent, and if you add anything else to the list, like try and have a hobby or time for yourself or anything like that. Like being an entrepreneur and a parent at the same time is whoa. I don't know how to really describe that. It's heavy.
It's
right?
heavy.
It's heavy. And being able to have those kind of moments, right? Where it's just like, it's none of that. And it's an authentic conversation. And we're not sitting there talking about, I don't want to, we're not talking about other people and their bullshit, right? It's the whole intention behind the conversation is to talk about really interesting, fascinating things and to try and understand them better, right? Like the whole intent behind our conversations is education and self-education and learning more. And we've disagreed on things. So it's always been interesting to me to be able to sit with somebody.
Horror, we can disagree about things, right? And still be friends.
I know, and I've loved those moments. Like I cherish those moments. I seek them out now a lot. I force myself in my news feed to follow stuff I don't want to read because I want to be reminded that conversation is out there. Because I do in where I work, I work in lots of different fields, but in one of my roles, it means I have to sit around the table with a lot of political conversations. And I don't agree with a lot of those conversations, but I like the human beings a lot, you know? And my God, that's so important. And we've lost it. I think as a society, we've just lost it.
We've lost it so badly.
We haven't just lost the plot. We've lost the ability to have conversations with,
100%.
Other human beings.
With friends, with family, and it's like, just because I disagree with you doesn't make me the enemy. Just because I don't agree with you doesn't make you the enemy. No,
and it's made our conversations interesting because I go away and I think about stuff. Right. And the only way how much I love Dr. Joe Dispenza. Have you not yet? Oh God!
One day it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
I love how he continues to explain you can't create a new reality without a new experience, right? And every new experience is a good experience because it allows you to see another reality. Otherwise, we're just constantly repeating the past because that's what the brain is. The brain is wired to predict the future based upon the past. So if you're constantly trying to predict your future and all you know is your past experiences, you're just going to be in that hamster wheel all the time.
Absolutely. Can I just, what you're talking about, disagreeing about stuff, and I'll read out something to you. I'm supported by a small number of people who listen to this podcast and go, you know what, I'm going to subscribe £5 a month.
Yeah.
Like the vast majority, 99% don't. but I still love you because at least you're listening. But like the 1% who keep this thing going, they're just incredible. But I loved this note. When you sign up to my Substack, you can leave a note, subscriber note. So this guy has written, or lady, I don't believe everything you do. In fact, on many issues, we are in a different place. But I love the fact that you are on a journey and that journey will never end. And as much as I don't always agree, I absolutely respect your integrity, your courage, and the fact you just seem like a really, really good person. I'm faking it. Fake it till you make it. And then they go, I will email you with more, but I feel you're somebody worth supporting.
I got a little bit, I'm a bit choked up.
But it's so nice.
No, because that's like, for me, that's the core of our human existence, is being able to honor that and respect that in another human being. Like, we're all on this planet. We're all going to have this experience on this planet.
Yeah.
And the whole idea, my goodness, I cannot explain how averse I've become to, oh, you don't agree with that? Well, that's what everyone else thinks. Like, you should agree with it because that's what's accepted. I am, the minute I hear that in a situation, I don't want to switch off because I know it's important for this journey and for my experience to acknowledge that is out there. But my goodness, that is not human existence.
This person is amazing.
Yeah,
it's a shame they didn't leave their name. They've just called themselves the Perplexed Rationalist.
Perplexed Rationalist. I'm giving you a mega fist bump.
Me too. And then there's another one said, I listen all the time. I think that you're one of the good guys. I'm a retired ex-teacher and spend a lot of time looking after our horses, most of them rescued. I'm always looking for something to listen to while shoveling shit, pulling ragwort in the summer, or walking the dog. Your podcast fits the bill. I'd love to hear from you if you have the time. Of course, I'd definitely reach out to you, Mark Allen. Isn't that nice? There's so many good people out there, you know.
Tell Mark I'm hook him up with a free rider session if he wants, just for sending that through.
Isn't that nice?
Yes.
So let's talk about horses then.
Because okay, careful.
You're a horsey person.
All day long.
You're a horsey person.
Yeah, I am.
I mean, you know, I would love to take my girls horse riding, even my little boy. They always talk about it. I just can't afford it. It's an expensive sport.
It's a very expensive sport.
It's a very expensive hobby.
Yeah.
But I wish I could do it because all they ever say is, Daddy, one day when we have a farm, will we have a horse? And I just go, yes, baby. Like,
don't worry. Like you've always got me to fall back on. In fact, a friend of mine is moving her pony much closer. So, you know, if you guys do want to go, I'm happy to take. And you're welcome to come ride mine. Aura rides Shady.
All right.
She got on him not too long ago, and he's a massive horse.
We can have a play date.
We could have a play date. See, there we go.
Let's
we could save the world.
So let's talk about horses then.
Okay.
Because you did an app. We were talking about this when you were talking about creating this app, and I was fascinated. I was like, creating an app and about exercise and your horse riding. Like, what? How does that fit? And
I know.
It made sense. Like, just explain it though.
Okay, so I've been in the fitness industry for 20 years. Let me rephrase. Fitness and wellness for the most part, right? Which is why I spend this time reading and trying to understand things about water and air and you know, every other element of what could be sustainable. But within the fitness industry, I started as a PT as a kid out of uni. I studied criminal law and got halfway through the program and was like, I'm going to be terrible at this because I would basically let everybody go. So I'm going to have to figure out something else. And I was working out in the gym and the fitness manager came up to me and he was like, are you a personal trainer? And I was like, no. And he's like, do you want to be one? We'll pay for you to become one. We need a PT and you seem to know what you're doing. I've been in sports and athletics.
And you know what? Some of the best people have been PTs. Like this guy, Paul Check and everything, you know.
Oh, yeah, Paul Check, yeah.
You know, they've just got his personal email address.
Oh, send him a fist bump from me as well.
Fist bump. So he wants me to go on his podcast.
Really?
And I'm going to get him on my podcast.
Oh, good.
It's like, wow.
Yeah, I've been following him for some time.
He's a cool guy.
Big shout out to Paul.
Right, anyway, you were saying.
So started as a PT. I fell in love with it. It was so positive. Like every time you walk in the gym, it's like everyone's in a good mood. And I'm like, this is infectious. I love this. And I got very, very lucky in the person I went to work for. And he ended up becoming my mentor throughout my entire career. I credit my entire career to him. And throughout that process, I've remained an equestrian. Like equestrianism, if you were to ask my mom, like she has this picture of me. She used to push me in a pram. We lived in a place called Bainbridge Island, and we would walk by this white horse in a field. And she said I would have an absolute fit as an 18-month-old if she wouldn't stop and let me go over and say hi to this horse. She was like, you would be inconsolable. So whatever it is, it's in your blood because nobody in my family rides. This is not something that I grew up around. It was very difficult to engage with because it is not cheap. But, you know, fast forward, I figured out a way and have basically had a horse since I was 14. or ridden regularly. My time in the Middle East, obviously, I didn't have horses while I was there, but I got to ride some incredible ones. And throughout that process, I was like, somebody has got to design fitness for horse riders, for equestrians. Somebody's going to do this, like they've done for every other sport, for golf and football and everything else. You have special training programs for those athletes. And I just figured at some point somebody would get around to it. And about 4 years ago, nobody had. And me and my husband talked about it, and he's like, you do. Why aren't you doing it? And I was like, it's literally been in my mind for 2 decades. Like, I know what I want to create. I know the programs. I know what I want the riders to do. I know their bodies and what they need and what we're up against. Maybe I should do it. And so fast forward the last 4 years, I've been writing programming, testing programming on riders, creating the app. We got it accredited by NASM 2 years ago.
What's the NASM?
National Academy of Sports Medicine.
Oh, wow.
So largest PT cert in the world, fantastic organization, incredible partners. Like if people want fitness education, go to them. They're great. And it came to life, not through, it wasn't without a roller coaster of difficulties. So I don't want to make it simple. Like, yeah, go build an app. Be ready, buckle up. For, twice as much invested, twice as much time. Like all the rules that you hear, everything you hear is true, but it's live, it exists. And we're now potentially going to be moving in and doing some research with a research institute.
What's it called?
It's called Equisoul.
How'd you spell it?
EQUESOUL.
We'll put that on the show notes.
Aww.
So this is important because some people might be like, why do I need to do certain exercises to do a sport? Well, I'll give you an example, right? So I haven't run for like almost 5 months.
Okay.
I was running regularly, 10 to 15K, quite easily, enjoying it in the woods. And running in the woods is very different from running on a treadmill.
Yeah.
And I know this because when I've had people come over to join me for a run, they're flagging. And they're like, I don't know, today's not a good day because like normally I would be, and I'm like, no, a treadmill is not the same as this. You're jumping, it's steep and it's,
you have to look down.
You have to look down, you have to jump over things, and it's just a different sport.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I haven't done that, but I have.
I love trail running, by the way, and I'm offended I have not been invited.
Oh, okay. No. You know what you should do? You should come and join Kat and I.
I would love to do that. Nick is a good runner too.
Well, we can invite him too because we can do that on one of the days that Kat gets off. She gets these I've forgotten what they call it. There's when she does like a long weekend and on-call shifts, they give her like a free day off to recover. So like the kids are at school, we can just pop out. Let's do it. Great. Then we can have lunch. Yes. Let's do it. Okay. Deal. Right. But anyway, so I haven't done that. I haven't run for like good 4 months. I've just been doing the weights, the medicine ball, the strength training. And then I go out and do a piddly little 3K run. Oh my goodness, the DOMs that I had the next day. Yeah. And it just goes to show you different exercises use different muscles in different ways.
You want to tell people what DOMs are?
Delayed onset muscle soreness. So basically, if every sport, everything uses muscles in a different way. Running is different from jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu is different from strength training. And golf is different. That torque, that swing.
Yes.
Cycling,
the position.
Yeah. You need to get acclimatized to it, used to it, and work the different muscles. And so, for example, horse riding, I can imagine is physically very exertional. It's not you're just sitting on a horse. Your legs are abducted
the whole time.
And just try and sit with your legs wide and feel how it will get stiff and achy and sore. I mean, it's like skiing. The reason why people have skiing injuries is never on day one in the first morning because they get off the plane and they're like, woohoo! And then second day, they go in the morning, they're like, oh, a bit achy, woohoo! And then second day, lunchtime, they have a boozy meal. They're feeling a bit relaxed. The muscle aching is setting it. And then they go, and again, they have to do the squat position and the muscles now fatiguing.
Yes.
The muscles fatigue. Everything gets put on the ligaments. And guess what? Stress strain, pop.
Yep.
And so it's always that because how often are people doing the exercises that they would normally be doing with skiing?
Almost never.
And you get to a certain age where if you don't use it, you lose it and then boom, gone.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that as a horse rider, you have to exercise in a specific way.
Well, the other thing too that I constantly talk about that I hope the conversation comes to light a little bit more because there's other equestrian fitness people in our industry, and there's some really credible ones, really good people doing a great job. But what I think is important is not, first of all, if you're a horse rider, you're going to have to go back out there and look after your horse. So let's say you go to the gym and you just go ham, right? And you then wake up the next day and you have some pretty serious DOMs. And now you've got to go muck out a stable, walk your horse to and from the field, whatever you might need to do, and potentially go for a ride, and you're really sore and weak. Now you're potentially prone to injury. If you normally have what we call a sticky seat and you can stick through a horse spooking or potentially bucking, or you're in a risky position and the horse takes a quick turn and you potentially go flying off. If you are fit and well, you'll be able to sit through that. If you are really sore and exhausted from the workout you did before, you're probably going to end up on the ground. And so it's important to find that balance. And that was one of my key things in the programming, was to design it in a scalable way to actually educate people. I don't want people to feel like they need to come to me as a PT to try to pay for sessions. I want to teach people how to exercise so that they can feel confident to go to the gym, to do more things at home, to try new things that maybe that they had never done before. So our programming is also self-educating, but it's done in a way where it's intended to control DOMs. And we've tested it in a way to try and control DOMs, because I don't want people getting hurt because they've done too much the day before and they've exhausted those muscles.
Oh man, I love it. I'm just thinking how amazing it must be to create something. This is like a baby. You've created this and brought it into the universe.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that must give you so much satisfaction knowing that you've done this. I mean, if you make some money and pay off the investment to make it, and if you make a bit of profit, amazing. But like, just in itself, you've created something and it's always going to be there now.
Yeah. It is really rewarding. And it's funny because when you're...
Maybe it's type 2 fun.
It is type 2 fun. It is type 2 fun. Well noted. Nice callback. I think what's so interesting about it is when you're in it, you're constantly focused on what you have to do. Oh gosh, I haven't done that yet. I need to do this. I need to evolve that. I need to contact this person. I need to build that section. I haven't recorded this video, like whatever it might be. But the other day I had to go in to walk through it with somebody else, and I'm doing it and I'm like, wow, this is pretty good. Actually, this is a pretty good app. And the person was like, there's so much content. And so it's really important, when you are trying to bring an idea to life, to kind of like stop and
I did that. I'll be honest with you. When you said you'd made an app, like, oh, that's nice. Let's have a look. I was like, oh shit. Wow. This is cool. This is like detailed and everything. So I think also that reflects your personality, like attention to detail, like, being a bit of a perfectionist, just putting something out there that that's going to reflect you and you want it to be the best possible. I'm kind of like that. Like, this podcast was meant to be a hobby, and like, I put in most of my life savings creating this studio and and it was like this or a motorbike or an affair, right?
This is so much cooler.
This is so much cooler. But it's like this midlife crisis thing was going, I need to do something. And, and when Kat said...
It wasn't a midlife crisis.
I know. Exactly. And it's funny when Kat said, how much is this going to cost? Like, and like everything, it's double the price.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm like that. I needed something that I was going to do that I didn't want it to be like crap. I just wanted to produce something that was really worth it. That
was quality that you knew could actually help people. I think that was the biggest conversation when we were getting the programming and rolling it out, and we were talking about what we should do versus what other people do. And that was an interesting conversation, right? Well, but what's standard in the industry is this. And I was like, fuck standard. There you go. There's a curse word for you.
You're up to 9 out of 10.
Woo! I know what number 10 is in this country, by the way. I won't say it, I promise.
Don't say that.
I won't.
It's a good word, though.
It is a good word. It doesn't have the same impact in the States. It doesn't carry the same weight.
Really?
No, not at all.
But maybe we're thinking of different words.
I doubt it.
I know, we're normally in sync.
Yeah. I think it's the same word. We'll talk about it off there. I wanted to produce something that I knew writers would actually use, because that's the other thing, right? So the average horse person spends 4 hours a day with their horse. 4 hours. Now I'm add a job onto that. When are they going to exercise? Plus, if they've been in the yard and they're covered in dirt or mud or horse poop or whatever it might be, are they going to go to the gym? No. So it had to be something that was under 30 minutes. It had to be something that was self-scalable. They had to be able to self-assess, learn on their own, right? And they had to be able to have an option based on whatever their goal was. And it had to be real. So like all the programs are reflective of heart rate and goal. And that then means I know that what I'm giving them, they will be able to do. It's all body weight driven right now. We will do an equipment section, but that's phase 2. And they would be able to do it whenever they needed to, on demand. Because guess what? They're also going to do, if their horse throws a shoe or gets an injury and they're supposed to have a PT session, where are they going to go? Are they going to go to the PT session if their horse is injured? No. So I'm not being an effective trainer. I'm not delivering quality product if I'm not making it feasible for them to engage with. And I knew if I did that, no matter what the outcome was going to be, at least my intention behind it would be authentic and real and be able to help people.
Love it. And you're 100% right. When do people make time? And the problem, I think, is that people just want to do what they think is fun. And they don't think of the exercise to make them better at what they're doing as fun. And this is applicable. And horse riding is a sport. It's not just horse riding that suffers from this problem, or horse riders. It's runners, it's footballers, it's golfers, it's everyone. So when I was, working, and I would have one of the biggest clientele were runners. And they were like, oh, I can't run. I've got this injury. And there's so many injuries you can get as a runner, lower limb injuries. And they're all overuse. And they're all because of poor technique, improper training, running too fast, too quick, no underlying strength.
Yes.
And there, a lot of runners have got mental health issues, and they deal with it through running. Remember, exercise being the great antidepressant that it is. So they come to you like, Frazzled, I need to run.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, you've broken your second and third metatarsals, and they're, you need to get them to heal. And they're like, and my wife was guilty of that. I would say to her, like, you really should do some strength training. Hate strength training, so boring. I'm off for a run. Boop, boop. And she just kept getting injuries. And she'd be like, why are you not getting injuries? I'm 10 years older. And I was like, because I'm investing in time doing this strength work. So then she was like, And after like the third or fourth injury, she stopped and stopped running all the time, and also started doing some strength training. And then I'd be like, so how's it going? Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. It's okay. It's good. It's still boring. But now she's got to the point where actually she loves doing the workout, and it's proper type 2 fun. She sometimes doesn't enjoy it at the time, but she always looks back and goes, oh, I'm really glad I did that. And having that strength and balance has meant that actually now for the last 2 years, she's not had any running injuries, Yeah. And that's the thing, whether you're a horse rider or a runner or anything, I think you need to really do the proper exercises to make sure you maintain that sport pain-free. And it's not maybe applicable when you're in your 20s, maybe even dare say in your early 30s, because you've got that physiological reserve and it mops up the inadequacies and lack of proper training. Yeah. But when you get to your late 30s and 40s, oh shit, you really need to do this investment, because if you don't, well, your time doing that sport is going to be very limited, because something will happen. Or if you've had
an injury.
Or you've had an injury, and then it's like, boom.
Which almost every equestrian has at some point. It's not if, it's when you're going to fall off. It's not if, it's when you might end up kicked, even by accident, right? Or head-butted.
Wow.
Yeah. It's like jujitsu. It's not if, it's when. And you just kind of, we all accept it. Like you ask any equestrian and we will all tell you we're all a little bit mad, right? Like we're all a little bit crazy. And it's like an accepted thing, because it's I wouldn't even call it a hobby. It's not even, unless you show up, get on a horse, and then leave and don't engage in it. Sure, maybe then it's a hobby. But if you have a horse, and if you're borrowing or leasing a horse, or if you're engaged in any kind of way, man, it is
part of your life.
Consuming. It is part of your life.
Jiu-jitsu is part of our life.
100%.
We talk about being a jiu-jitsu family.
Yeah.
Like, I've had this injury, Kat had injury, and I was thinking about this. Some people might think you're fracking mental. You're almost 50. You're grappling these kids twice your size, half your age. You've got these injuries. Like, just pack it in and go home. And I'm like, maybe I'm a bit crazy, because I'm like, no, it's all right. But I think like the only people who don't get sports injuries are people who don't do sports.
Yeah.
And
I used to love rolling with people like you.
Yeah.
I did
Like
because
like with old men like me. Yeah,
What?
thanks.
I said people. Honestly, because it's like you have a different experience. It's like anybody who's rolled jujitsu knows the difference between flowing and rolling, right? And you learn something new. I used to love flowing because it slowed me down as a person. Like it was a completely different lesson in that, So it's so important that you get that.
I say that I try and get this like some of the guys just don't appreciate how old I am, which is why I kind of grow out the beard and I think like honestly this kid yesterday, he's 24, he's massive, big bulging biceps, and he thinks like I'm in my late 30s or something. I'm like, no, add a decade, right? Just dude, just let's go gentle, okay? Nice flow. Anyway, I was a bit rude. I didn't mean to be rude, but I was thinking about it. What do you think of this, right? So I'm rolling with this kid, right? And I'll talk about me for a second. So basically, I knew I was going to go bald, right? But it was a funny form of...
It suits you.
Yeah, thanks.
You're welcome.
Cat likes it. Basically, I kind of started having a receding forehead. And it started just going backwards and backwards. So I didn't have a bald patch in the middle, like a monk type thing. It was like going backwards.
Okay.
And it got to a point where I was like halfway back. And I was still holding onto my hair like in a ridiculous manner. It was like stupid. And then one day I was just like, what the hell, man? And I shaved it all off. And this is like 5 years ago. And to be honest, I should have done it like 15 years ago. I should have just gone for it. And I just hung on to it for too long. And I don't know why, right? I just don't know. It's just stupid. I should have just let it go. Anyway, this 24-year-old kid is clearly losing his hair, right? He's only 24. And it's like, it's really, and he's just brushing it forward. So it's not a comb over, it's like a comb front. And it just doesn't look cool. It just doesn't look cool. And at the end, I said to him, it was a really nice roll, thanks. He went, no worries. I mean, one thing I would say to my younger self, if I could go back in time, he went, what? I'd say, shave it off earlier. And he looked at me and went, ha ha ha. But I wanted to just say, just let it go, buddy. Is that a bit harsh?
No, I think you would be the right person for that to come from. If I was in a similar situation, I'd want it to come from somebody I knew understood.
Because it's like, I just feel like he's like me when I was my younger self.
Yeah.
I would love someone to have come to me early and go, dude, just get rid of it. Seriously, you'll be much better off for it. I think the thing is a lot of guys think, one, they won't be attractive to girls anymore. I think that's a big thing. Two, I think it represents their youth and it's like it's a transition point. Like that's it. I'm an old person now.
Yeah. And
there's all these like hang-ups. But actually, while there are girls who love guys with top buns, don't ask me why, or, with great hair, there's also girls that love bald guys. My wife being one of them. Who knew? So, for all the guys out there who are worried about losing their hair, there's plenty of girls out there who are happy to have a bald guy on their arm. So it's all good.
It is all good. On top of the fact that I never really had like what you would call, I think, a type. For me, it was always like the essence of the person. There's plenty of girls out there like that who want to meet the essence of the person. They're not going to look and be like, I like bald guys. There are girls that like bald guys. No disrespect to them.
I think you're right. I think the whole type thing is wrong. So I thought I had a type. Kat is the exact opposite of what I thought my type was.
Just life hooking you up with a new lesson.
Exactly. Yeah. Like seriously, it was like, yeah. But it was because I think I fell in love with her essence.
Yeah.
And then afterwards fell in love with like, wow, she's shit hot. Like, wow. But I fell in love with who she was.
Oh, that's the best way to go.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I had to learn that life lesson. But at least I learned it. Some people don't.
Yeah.
I'm reading a book right now called The Value of Others.
Aw.
Tell
me more.
So basically, this book is about how to find a relationship and keep that relationship. And in the title is something about sexual marketplace as well. And it's mainly about men and women trying to find a partner. But it could relate to friendships as well. You can extrapolate it to that. But it's about how basically every relationship is all about value. Like, take, for example, my friendship with you is based on the fact that I value things about you and want that in my life, and like vice versa.
Yeah.
And if I didn't value anything that you had or had to offer, I would have a relationship with you. And it sounds cold, but actually,
No, it's true.
it's true.
It is true.
It's true. And then it's about how...
It's just, what is it that you value?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And a lot of the value system is based on a subconscious level. And that's manifested through emotion, such as desire and attractiveness. So, you know, as a guy, you want something from a girl, and, you know, what are those things you want? And then you label them as desire and attraction or whatever, and vice versa. Like, you might want something from a guy, and, you know, you think, right, what is it I value about him? You want maybe security, you want protection, you want love, companionship. And then suddenly, you know, these are all subconscious level decision-making processes. And then you churn it out as like, fancy that guy.
It's 100% true. And I think what's been the most interesting lesson for me in the last year is how much control we have over our subconscious mind.
Yeah.
Which I think I've maybe believed that to a certain degree, but I didn't consciously acknowledge it until the last year. It's completely true. And it's so programmable. It's just our software. And if we want to change that software, it's up to us, and we can do it.
The book also talks about that, how you change it. So, for example, say, you know, when I was a kid, I didn't understand why girls liked bad boys. They treated them like dirt, and the girls would still go back to them. And I'm like, I'm a nice guy. Why can't I get a girl like, you know, just like as easily as the bad guy can get a girl? But it's all about one upbringing of the girl,
yes,
and the relationship she was exposed to.
Yep.
And then the fact that she values spontaneity, she values fantasy.
Yeah.
And that then comes out as a desire for the bad boy.
Yeah.
And she looks at stability as something that's boring and not exciting, something that's consistency, dependability. These are all bland and boring and of no value. So the desire is not there. And then it talks about how you can have conflict because you value something, you're attracted to something, but you're also repulsed by something as well in someone else. So you're like torn. And the reason why you're torn is because you really like certain things, you value them, and then other things you really don't value.
Yeah.
And it talks about all this kind of stuff. It's a great book, but I have to read every page 3 times. And
oh, yeah.
Because it's one of those really deep, heavy. And,
yeah.
And the lingo is completely different. But one of the ways you can change a bad habit or attraction, say you're the girl who fancies the bad boy, is to flood yourself with new experiences so that that becomes a new normal.
Yeah.
Because you can't change your past.
And new thoughts. And you can control your thoughts.
Yeah.
You have to be able to acknowledge them first and become conscious to them. And then when you lay down at night, you repeat the thought that you want to think and or feel.
Exactly.
You do it enough times and you will. It is fascinating.
I think the reason why we don't do this as people is because we're so rushed.
That's probably part of it. The other part of it is it's change. Change is perceived as pain, and we avoid that.
So we need to embrace discomfort.
Yeah.
So why I love jiu-jitsu. It teaches you to be comfortable in that really uncomfortable position.
Yeah. You know what's fascinating is they've discovered that on a cellular level, if you do that, your cell's behavior actually changes. And they
wow.
Yeah, I know. So there's the most recent research shows that people who meditate consistently every day, they're consistent meditators. When exposed to a virus or a bacteria, their cells are actually able to resist it to a much higher degree than somebody who does not. And the thought behind that is because they've chosen to be in control of the influence of external things or events. And because they have this embedded control over their internal thoughts, their internal processes, their internal relationship with themselves, it actually influences the strength of the cell.
How do you meditate?
there's loads of different types of meditation. First of all, I think this is what's really cool because meditation and exercise are so similar, right? Most people, when you first go in the gym, are you weak or are you strong?
Me.
Anybody, when they first go in the gym, you're weak. You're weak,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And when you start training, do you initially become stronger or weaker?
Stronger.
Well, initially you become a bit weaker.
Oh, okay.
Right? Like you get DOMs, you're sore, you're tired. And it takes a window of time before you go in and you lift up that weight again and you go, "Ooh, that feels lighter today."
Yeah.
Right? It takes a window of time. In the gym, there's lots of different types of training. There's different types of training that work for different people. And what's important is do the thing that works for you that you're actually going to show up and enjoy and do every day. Right? Whatever it might be. Maybe you don't enjoy it in the moment, but after you go, I really enjoyed that. I'm going to come back for more. Meditation is the same. So there's lots of different types of meditation to begin with. So you can sit down and experience. I mean, Spotify, my goodness, there's so many different types of meditation on Spotify. Try several of them. And
like, what do you mean? Like, so just to, like, I know frack all about meditation. I mean that. So like,
I like how you made that PG.
Yeah, so, but that's Battlestar Galactica. Frack this. So how do I start? Like, because I wouldn't like. This is why it's really good to have a PT. This is why it's really good to have an app, like you've just said, because it's like, where do I even begin? This is why I want to start a health guide consultation service. Because one, I need to make more money than what I'm doing right now. And two, I want to help people navigate the sick care system, like, because they don't even know where to begin.
No,
do you know how many times people say to me, "Oh, I've seen a doctor and I don't understand what they've said. I don't understand how to interpret the scan. What questions should I ask them?" And I'm like, "Well, I need to charge for this."
Yeah,
like, so people need to. So I'm asking you, like, where do I even begin with meditation? I wouldn't have a clue.
So first thing to note about meditation is people think that they need to immediately be able to sit down and clear everything from their mind and not have a thought, right? And that is a myth because you won't be able to do that initially. Even people who meditate regularly don't do that. They just have a system for dealing with it, for coping with it. And there's lots of different systems. Some people will be like, as the thought comes in your mind, picture a broom and sweep it away. Like there's if you're a visual person, there's a way to do it. If you're an audio person,
I'm a visual person.
Yeah. So it's best for you to create an image of how you want to cope with thoughts that come in. Right. So the first thing to do, I would say, is decide, why do you want to meditate?
Well, the reason why is because everybody keeps telling me how amazing it is and how good it is for them. And I feel like I'm always on a journey to learn new things and improve myself. And I think like this is one of those things I'm missing.
Yeah. So I would say the first thing is just being able to find, this is going to sound, I don't know how else to better say this. It's to find yourself in that instant, because we're constantly doing for others, speaking to others, task list. You're faced with all of these external things, right? So to be able to be conscious of yourself initially, right? That's the biggest win that comes to begin with it. That spectrum goes from that to different types of, meditation. There's a big long list to transcendental meditation, to quantum healing. And there is scientific evidence for quantum healing, which is what you would, like in the medical industry, they would call miracle events, right? Where all of a sudden somebody has a disease and they're dying and miraculously within a day it's gone, or there's no trace of it, right? And so what they're discovering is it quite literally energetic shifts. And I don't say that lightly. Like, it's not like, oh, your energy fields. It's not me coming from that point of view. And I don't mean to be dismissive. But because there's so much research that's come out about this, what's fascinating that we've discovered is the heart is actually magnetic. The brain is electric. Okay. Just like the combination of the earth and the sun, which is really fascinating. But because what does that mean? That means you think a thought, right? It's created. The thoughts in your brain stimulate hormones to release, and that affects your heart rhythm. And what your heart projects right? We can now see this. We can see the field that your heart projects.
It goes out quite a long way.
It can go out as far as 9 feet, right? So if
that's the energy we feel from each other.
Exactly.
How nice is this?
How cool is that?
You got great energy, by the way.
Oh, thanks. I work really hard on it.
Hey, what about me?
Why do you think we're friends? 100%. I'm like a little kid when you show up at gymnastics. Honestly, oh my God, he's here. We're going to talk about some cool shit today.
Oh, you know, just Pat was like, I'm so jealous. I want to talk to Nicole. I want to spend time with her.
Oh, I love hanging out with you guys. It absolutely just, sets the tone for the day. This is why we need to build our compound.
Yeah,
Okay?
we're good.
Yeah, we've got to do that.
I'll bring the shotguns.
Perfect. Good. This isn't a scary thing, by the way. This is like, we're just going to have a farm and some animals on a hill and we're going to take care of it ourselves.
And kids running around.
Yeah, and kids running around.
Doing jiu-jitsu.
Central play area. Exactly. Trampoline in the ground.
Oh, and I want the barbecue.
Oh, yes. Built in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is incredible, I think, about the correlation I was trying to say from fitness or exercise to meditation is it's just about consistency, right? If you start to exercise, do you see results the next day? No, you might be a bit sore. That might be your result, but you don't see the results for a few months. It's just you keep going. And then all of a sudden you look in the mirror, you stand up or you go up a step and you're like, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's the same with meditation. So I think a lot of people get deterred because the first time they sit down and they try and meditate, they're like, oh my God, I have too much to do. I can't sit with my thoughts. Right? But if you force yourself to continue to do that, your body and your brain will acclimate and you will be able to get into that position where the minute a thought comes in, you can go, that's okay. I'm going to come back to you when I'm done. You're still going to be there. And you can move on and find that moment.
Can I ask you something? So like, say I start now, right? So I go outside, barefoot, lie down on the grass, patch where the chickens haven't pooped, and then go in a kind of like lotus position. Do I close my eyes? Do I keep them open?
It's up to you. So this is why I say there's lots of different forms of meditation.
Oh, shit.
One of the easiest ways.
Sometimes choice can be bad.
That's true.
Sometimes you just want someone to tell you what to do.
I would say, okay, so I'll go personal then.
Yeah.
For me personally, it's been either sat in the lotus position with a lot of support on my back so that I can relax into it. Or I actually, might be odd for some people. So I have this sort of short sofa at home and I stack pillows at one end of it. And I then lay down flat on my back so that my legs make this 90-degree angle.
No, I get that. That sounds nice.
Yeah. So
it's like you're lying back on a chair.
It's almost like zero gravity is what I'm trying to kind of reflect. And physically being in that position, we could talk about the physiological effects. I also use the Theragun before I do it to stimulate blood flow, but that's a whole other, we'll do that next time. But
don't get me near a Theragun. You won't get me off it.
Oh my God, they're amazing. Life-changing. But I then am able to get into this position of such physical comfort. And I like to do this before the kids get up because then I know nothing is going to come my way. The day hasn't started yet. Business isn't operating. Nobody expects anything of me. And I either put a recording on, open up Spotify, use some of Dr. Joe's stuff, and let it play.
Dr. Joe's what? So what should I type in?
So if you type in Dr. Joe Dispenza meditation, I think there's 2 or 3 that'll come up. And
yeah.
And if you try it and you don't like it, no worries. There's other people that do other types of meditation. Sometimes if I'm at my desk and I find a new one, I'll play it while I'm not meditating to listen because now I know what I like and I know what works for me. And I'll see, okay, is this going to be something to add to what I'm doing?
I'm going to do this tomorrow. Morning meditation.
Yeah.
Joe Dispenza. I'm going to do it tomorrow. All right. I'll let you know how it went.
Please do. I'm looking forward to your report. And I close my eyes. Now, what's interesting is when you get good at closed eye meditation, then it becomes much easier when it's like he says. Joe in his book, he talks about, he lives a wine connoisseur. He loves wine. And he's like, it's amazing because if you bring a certain person into a room who's never drunk wine before, doesn't know anything about it, maybe doesn't even like wine. By the time you're done with this course, they're then telling you what notes and scents and flavors they enjoy. They couldn't do that before because they didn't know what it tasted like. So they couldn't figure out what they liked and enjoyed. And he's like, it's the same. We have to give you the experience of it for you to go, I know what it feels like. And then I can identify with it. So I know what a deep meditation for me physically feels like. So when I'm out walking the dog, it's not difficult for me to recall that sensation while I'm walking and do what they would call a walking meditation, because I can recall that sense and that feeling.
What are the health benefits again of meditation?
Oh my God, there's so many. There's so many. But I think what's really interesting right now, especially given with what's gone on in the world the last couple of years, is the direct influence on the immune system. And that has been scientifically validated by numerous organizations that you wouldn't expect to scientifically validate.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
You know, we're both parents. You ever feel bad that we're sending our kids to school?
Sometimes. I struggle with it because it's time, and I love time with my kids, right? And they're going to experience things that I'm not going to get to see and be a part of. And I love teaching them new things. Like I like being a part of that process and actually watching their brain work and process something and then give me opinion and feedback and questions. But then there's the other side of it, which, you know, Teddy will come home and have had this, you know, fantastic day and have learned something he finds really interesting. And it then translates into our evening, and we're looking it up and we're talking about different aspects, and he gets to go back into class and have another conversation about it. And the social interactions that he gets and how he learns from that.
They're at good schools.
They are at good schools, to be
That's the thing. So I'm torn because I know how bad schooling is for children and how it kind of like destroys their critical thinking. Not everyone, but a lot of them. And the benefits of home education. But right now, it's just so hard.
I just feel like we can give them that critical thinking. Like,
I'm going to park it. And like next 2-3 years, like I think like secondary school, if they say they don't want to go to secondary school, it's like fine. And I'm having this conversation practically every day now.
Yeah, it is a struggle. And I think for me, one of the reasons why I'm happy with where we're at right now is I do genuinely feel at this point in time that they can go into what we would call a system, right? Reap the benefits of that system. And then we can still give them the critical thinking processes at home. And I see that happening. And I think what's really lovely too is I get feedback from other parents. So you always wonder if the things that you say get absorbed into their little minds, right? You know, and I think one of the things with my kids that's really important to me is empathy, right? Not empathy to the degree where it becomes self-destructive, but being able to have empathy with people who are different than you, have different life experiences than you, even if you don't agree with, like carrying that little shred. And I remember saying to my son, you know, him and my daughter had an interaction and there was a disagreement and tears and everything. And at the end of that, I took him away. And it was one of the first times I had the real, how would you feel if you were in that situation conversation? You know, and I thought at the time, I think he's got it. He's processing it. And a few weeks later, one of the mums came up to me walking back from school drop off. And she was like, you know what my daughter said to me the other day? She said that they were Teddy helped break up a disagreement at school. And what he said to her was, you know, you got to think about how the other person might feel.
Oh.
And so it's like, you know, with kids 7 and under, like they're absorbing everything. And I do feel like we've had enough of those conversations, and Nick and that's one of the most incredible things about our relationship is when it comes to parenting, man, I've never felt out of step with him. Like, you know, morals, ethics, approach, just kindness, how we have these conversations, our relationships with our kids. And we get to talk about heavy things. And I think we do it in a healthy way. And, you know, I always say to Teddy, and I'll start saying to Aura when she's a bit older, you know, so I think, so I act, so I do. Or so I think, so I feel, so I act. Sorry. So I think, so I feel, so I act. And it's just being able to get them to call on that and know the things that you think produce the things that you feel, and the things that you feel produce the things that you do. And I feel like, my goodness, if I can embed that now, they'll be miles ahead of me.
Wow. Do you know what? I think you're a great mama. You know, I loved my dad, and I love my dad still. I mean, he's passed away, and I love my mum, but we didn't have these conversations when we were kids. I mean, the stuff that I talked to with my kids, like my parents never spoke. It was just like, they're too tired. Their dad would come home, sit in front of the TV, go to sleep in front of the TV. Then we'd have these snippets of conversations, and they would be so powerful and meaningful, but I'd hold on to them because they weren't that often.
Yeah.
And I kind of learned from his example. and the things he would say maybe here and there, and like I would hold on to them. But I wish, like, yeah, could go back and ask him so many questions and talk to him more. And one of the good things about what's happened to me now is, I'm a house husband. You saw me when coming in, loading the washing machine, and I do all the kids' breakfast and pack lunch and washing their clothes and blah blah blah. But I get to spend so much time with them.
Yeah.
Like really a lot of time. And that's kind of magical.
Yep. That's one of the things I'm grateful about, the role that we get to play in our kids' lives. We're both entrepreneurs, and there's a weight that comes with that, and it's heavy, but the benefit to being able to physically be there with my kids is greater. I'm so grateful to that.
Exactly. Because I was thinking about this, I'm on my deathbed. I'm not going to be like, oh man, I wish I had that second holiday home. I wish I had that bigger car.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish I had more money in the bank.
Time is what you wish for, isn't it?
It's time.
Yeah.
It'll be like, oh, I wish I had more time with my family and my kids, and I wish I'd seen them do this and do that. And the way I am going right now, I don't think I'll be wishing that. I think I'll be like, oh yeah, you know what? I got to spend a lot of time with them. They know who their dad is.
Yeah.
And that's pretty special.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think it's time to wrap up now. What do you think?
I mean, we have to be careful. I could just keep talking.
I know, but we need to leave it.
Yeah.
You come back.
Leave these four folks.
What we need to do is we need to plan a date for our run.
Yeah.
And lunch. We need to do another.
I'm pretty pathetic on the downhill, by the way. You probably have to wait for me.
It's all right. No, yeah. Don't worry. I'm just like, my ankle's just recovering, so I'm not.
Okay.
We need to do lunch again.
Yeah.
Are we coming to yours, or do you want to come back to ours?
Come to ours. Yeah.
Whatever you like.
Fine by me.
All right. We need to do that. That was fun.
Yeah, it was. The food was really good too.
We can.
I can't guarantee I'll barbecue as well as that. That was really good.
We can bring whatever. Tell us what to bring.
We'll probably end up going trademark. Maybe like Nick's bolognese, which I have to say is from scratch and absolutely outstanding. I jokingly tell everybody it's why I married him.
Kat can bring dessert.
Good.
She's very good at desserts.
Okay. She is.
What is it, like, before we wrap up, what is it you value about Nick?
Oh, God, it's a long list. I don't say that lightly either. I married the perfect person for me. So I think what I value most about him is he is such an interesting mix of a human. He's unpredictable. You know how you were talking earlier about like unhealthy unpredictability and an attraction to that.
Mm.
He's unpredictable in a healthy way.
Yeah.
Like in a way where I trust him with every ounce of my being. And it's because he is morally and ethically the example I would hope to set in the world, I think. He motivates me all the time in so many wonderful ways. I'm grateful to have found. I could literally keep going on. People would probably think I'm just, rambling here, but anybody who knows him would walk away from a conversation feeling heard and appreciated and respected. And I think that's just rare in a human being.
Well, one of the things I really love about you guys is that you are such a beautiful, lovely couple, and you really complement each other.
Yeah, we are quite different in a lot of ways.
Yeah, very,
very different in a lot.
But just the way, like, Kat and I are very different. It's the whole yin yang thing going on.
100%.
You know how yin yang, like, I never really appreciated it. In each one of the halves, there's a dot of the other.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, there's a little bit of you in Nick, and a little bit of Nick in you, and there's a little bit of Kat in me.
Yeah.
And a little bit of me and Kat.
Yeah.
And so we just slot,
Yep.
We just fit perfectly. And what I really like about you and you guys is that, I wish everyone was in that kind of relationship and happy. And it makes me sad that I think most people are not. They haven't found.
Yeah.
And I think it's again about what we've been brought up as children and what we've seen, what we see on TV, what we are told is, for example, Bollywood, in Hollywood, the idea of what your ideal partner should be like. Her whole value system is kind of wrong.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of issues with self-esteem. So we end up in relationships that we shouldn't be in because we don't think we deserve any better. And we all suffer from a bit of trauma and we don't know how to resolve it. And it goes on and on and on. And then we don't even give ourselves time. But then if we don't give ourselves time, how are we going to give time to some other significant partner? And then we have dysfunctional families. And I really believe in the importance of family. You know, I think one of the most important things in the world are God, family, and then your country, you know, and you need strong families. And I just feel like a lot of families are unhealthy.
I think, you know, my goodness, we could talk, this is definitely another segment because we could
This is a bit deep now.
Well, we could talk about so many different aspects of this and how it influences parenting, or at least how I parent nowadays, because my parents were divorced. And I remember explicitly standing in a window watching them argue at one point in time, being like, I will not have kids before I will put my kids through divorce. Like, and when I met Nick, I thought, I genuinely, because I was older, I thought I'm probably not going to have kids. And I was okay with that because for me, it was all about the environment I was going to raise them in. I was not, there was no wool over my eyes about how difficult it was going to be. I didn't think. And I hope it's okay. I'm going to tell this story really quickly because there's two things about Nick. There was two.
We've got time, by the way. I just didn't want to take up your time.
No, well, thank you.
You're a busy lady.
But we 2 weeks after Nick and I met, I got a phone call, and my dad had committed suicide.
Oh,
and I was sitting there with Nick, and getting that news is one of those moments where the earth kind of stops, right? And we barely knew each other. And I remember setting the phone down, kind of in slow motion, and looking at him and being like, what I'm about to tell you is really heavy. And if you're not in for it, it's okay. Because I knew from that moment forward that I had no idea what was coming and that it was going to be messy. And I was like, you can go. I will hold no grudge. Like, I will be absolutely understanding and I will be okay with it. And he didn't. He stayed and made me dinner and did my laundry. And I sat genuinely the whole day and stared at a wall and was, you know, like, what do you do with a person in that state? And he didn't try and do anything. You know what I mean? He was just there, like in the best possible way that he could. And you get to know somebody on a different level. And when you're going through trauma like that, because it's just like whatever that sort of best version of yourself is you're presenting when you're dating somebody goes away. Like I was just me because I didn't know what I had to give. And we got a few months into that, things were becoming, I think we both knew we were in love and things were becoming, you know, they were evolving. And I remember sitting on a rooftop. We met in Cairo in Egypt, sitting on a rooftop or the rooftop of my flat. And we were talking about relationships in general. And I've been married before. And
all the best people have.
Yeah. I always jokingly say I didn't date well, but I married well. I always married nice guys. I didn't date very well. But I remember sitting there and I felt like through the mistakes I had made in my past, I had figured out, you know, a little bit more about myself and how a successful relationship looked in my mind. I remember saying to him, he's like, well, you know, how do you view a successful relationship or a marriage or what that looks like? And I was like, 50-50. It's 50-50, not 50-50 as in everybody gives 50% every single day, but in that we're both in it. Whatever it is, we're both in it. Like there's this, you know, some days somebody's got 80, so the other some days somebody's got 20, so the other person's got 80 on that day, and you just pick up for each other, right? And that is one thing that I can guarantee has happened in our marriage every single day. Every single day, we've always been like, you know, what has the other person got to give? What can I give?
That's beautiful. And he's handsome.
And he's
got a
smoking hot.
And then he's got a kind face.
Yeah.
Hasn't he got a kind face?
Yeah.
He's got such a nice face.
I know.
I mean, not just the fact he's handsome, but he's just got a nice face.
Yeah.
He's going to be like, what the hell is this?
I cannot wait to tell him we've had this conversation. Like, what his face will be bright red.
what the hell is this guy on about? But I mean it. I swear to God, he's got such a kind face.
Yep.
Like
He's
park the fact he's good looking. It's just, I love his face. It's just a nice face.
very disarming human being in the most wonderful way.
Because I think his inner nature really exudes that.
Yeah.
And that's the same with like Kat. She's just got such a lovely face. Like, because she's just such a nice person.
Yeah. It's genuine authenticity, right? When they measure, when they measure on a vibrational scale, our highest vibrational level is when we're being authentic.
Damn right.
Yeah.
So it's funny. I had a couple of guests on, and their podcasts. I don't think they're being very authentic.
The energy's different, isn't it?
They're trying to pretend to be something they're not. Whether it's trying to be corporate or trying to be very serious scientific, when that's not them. And I think people can sense that.
You can, and whether or
even
not
for
it's
the
conscious
airways.
or 100%, whether or not it's conscious or unconscious, it's vibrational. It is literally. I love to dial everything back to what we can study and understand, because then, you know, you can make sense of it. But like, it is vibrational. I won't keep you any longer.
Hearing you talk about Nick and your relationship makes me remember my dear friend. Her name is Margaret Anna Alice. She's an amazing writer on Substack. She's a gifted writer. She just lost her husband. Massive heart attack.
Oh my.
And she's written several pieces about him. I read one yesterday. I was actually tearful. The way she writes about him, I'm just seeing if I can pull it up. I mean, he was such a presence in her life, and to lose him, it's just really sad. Very, very sad. And yeah, it's beautiful as well in that respect. Like, because she's going back and reading about him and writing about what he'd written about. He had a creative mind. It was just, it's beautiful that she had that, but it's also very sad now that she's lost it. But I think at least she had it.
You've just reminded me, actually, now that I'm thinking about my husband. He's supposed to be going to CrossFit. I sure hope it's not 11:45.
Okay, right. Last question then of the day. Look, you're on your deathbed.
Yeah.
You're in your hundreds.
Yeah.
You've lived a very long, beautiful life. Before you pass on and meet your maker, what are you going to tell your kids and grandkids? What words of wisdom will you impart on them?
Gosh, I think it's everything you and I just talked about. I'm serious.
Kids, go listen to this podcast.
Be serious. Be authentic. Discover what that is in yourself. Because that's like what we say to people when we say be you. But that's hard to explain to a kid. But what is me? Right? Whereas if you can teach them and help them identify what it feels like to feel authentic, right? That's tangible. And be that, because that will change. It will evolve. I mean, not change, right? But it will evolve as you get older. And, try not to be afraid.
Definitely. Don't, like you said you like the sticker.
I do. Fear is the mind killer. It is.
Believe it or not, I mean, we were very simple. That's my birthday present from Kat.
Yeah.
So Kat was like, well, what should I get for your birthday present? And it was literally, she got me stickers from the June movie, because I love June so much. And that was it. Right. Listen, thank you so much for coming. I love you so much.
I love you so much.
To my listeners who are listening, and it's probably about 70 to 80% of people get to the end. They're the hardcore, dedicated, loyal listeners. Yeah. Sorry, the camera wasn't on you when you did that. Do it again. What I would say is you're clearly the engaged audience. If you aren't subscribing that £5 a month, please think about it. I hate coming out with my begging bowl, but look, there's no ads, there's no sponsors. I'm not interrupting you with buy AG1 supplements or anything like that. I'm saying just support me. £5 a month. It's not much, really, folks. If you love me, I'd really appreciate it. All right, folks. Thank you so much. You need to come back.
I will. Happily.
Thank you.